Hi, Sandhya. Hello. Sandhya, is my voice is clear? Is my voice is audible to you?
Yeah, I'm able to hear
Will
you.
you start the session?
Yeah.
Okay. 1 minute. So, are you online?
Hi Sandhya, good morning.
Hi, Manju.
Hi Ravi, good morning.
Good morning, Monchi.
Yeah, so let's get the session today.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go with your,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you thought, like minimum introduction, but just give me like 10 to 15 minutes so that, after that I will ask whatever you want. I mean, Madhu told me that, going directly from functions is a little tricky. So you first go with your normal flow and, just let me know 10 or 20 minutes before so that I can have my questions.
Okay. Okay. Let me. So let's start with an introduction to SAP data services. Data services is basically an ETL tool. ETL in the sense it is responsible for extraction, transformation and loading of data. Okay, but SAP data services is little more than an ETL tool. It also has additional features like data profiling, data quality analysis, and because it's an SAP product, it also supports some RDS solutions. That means we have some pre-built code to migrate data from legacy systems to SAP systems. So these are some advantages for data services over its competitors. So let us discuss these features one by one in detail. Okay. So before discussing those features, let us start with an introduction to what an ETL tool is. Okay. So in a day-to-day business, to analyze the data, especially for business decision making and for day-to-day report generation, we will be needing data in a warehouse where our select queries faster. Okay, normally in an operational systems, also called as online transaction processing systems, OLTP systems. The database there will be optimized for inserts and updates. For example, if we take an SAP ERP system, which is an OLTP system, whenever the user creates an order, the priority for him get a confirmation for that order immediately. So that insert should happen faster. Also, these OLTP databases will be normalized. Okay. So, but these OLTP databases, the problem with reporting on them is, first thing is they're normalized for, they're fine-tuned for inserts and updates, not for the select statements. Second thing is, when we try to query these systems, it will interfere with the regular process like order creation or some other activities. Like it will create load on these operational systems. So for that purpose, we need data in a different system called as online analytical system. Okay, OLAP. So to copy the data from OLTP to this OLAP or the data warehouses, we need the tools called ETL. Okay, so we need to extract the data from our operational system, transfer as the business needs, and load it to the data warehouse. Okay, so here if we see, we have data warehouse and a data mart. Data warehouse is generally at an enterprise level. It has data spanning over various function modules, whereas data mart, it has data specific to a particular business area. For example, let us say finance module. Okay, a single data mart might have data relevant only to the finance module. So this is the major difference between a data mart and a data warehouse. A data warehouse can have multiple such data marts. Okay, so are we clear so far with the terminology of OLTP, OLAP, data warehouse and data mart?
Hamza,
Yes, Sandhya.
can you please record the session for the
Uh, I'm sorry, Sandhya, your voice is.
Can you please record the session?
Sure. I think the session is already being recorded, but let me record from my end also. Okay. So the another term that we see here is the staging area. Staging area is nothing but a temporary database where we can load the data for processing. Okay, for example, we can set up our SQL database as our staging area database. So there the data, we can load the data into a staging area which will be further processed. The main reason to go for a staging area is, let me say I have to extract data from my operational system by joining two tables. So when I join the tables directly in the operational system, that will create considerable load on the operational system because of the join operation. So rather than that, we extract those two tables directly into the staging area. Okay, that means we simply create a replica of them in the staging area, and then we create the join on tables in staging area. So this is the main purpose of the staging area. It will help us reduce the unnecessary load creation on the operational system, and also we have the source replica in the staging area so that we can do any sort of transformations on this data. Now moving to the next slide, let us see. Let us see what the extraction portion contains. What are the pointers that we need to look at? Okay. So as discussed, the staging area is the temporary area that holds the source. Okay. So the main reason to go for the staging area is the source system will be available for specific period of time to extract data. So sometimes that period will be very less. Okay, so in that period we try to do a one-to-one extraction into our staging area. Okay, because any transformations applied directly on operational system data, they might take a considerable amount of time. Okay, and it also creates a burden on the operational system. So for that purpose, the staging area comes into picture. We can extract data from multiple sources and keep it in staging area and further perform the jobs. Okay, so once we have the data in staging area, we can do how many transformations we want. Okay, without worrying about the load that we are creating on the source system, or we do not need to worry about the time slots that we have for data loads. Okay, then transformation. So transformation of the data is like we will try to apply some functions, or we will try to format the data in which the business, in the way the business wants. For example, in operational system, the date might be in a format like DDMMYYY. Okay, but for our data warehouse, we might have to convert that format as DD-MON-YYY. So such data conversion activities can be performed in the transformations. Also, we can try to get the average of certain records or the sum of certain records. or sometimes we might have to merge a few columns. For example, we will merge last name and first name to form the full name column in our data warehouse. Okay, so transformations form the crucial part of the ETL logic. Sometimes we might also have to do some validations, business rule implementations, or we might have to replace some null values or junk characters with some valid values. So all these come under transformations. Then finally the load phase. So here we load data into our target data warehouse tables. So the main thing that we need to see while loading is we load the data as fast as we can. We need to do the load balancing so that the data will be loaded faster to the tables. Okay. Also, we should be able to handle the load failures. For example, if I have to load 1000 records to a table, and if my load has failed after loading 800 records, so I need to handle this failure. Okay, I should handle it such a way that data should not be duplicated in the target. At the same time, we should not miss even a single record while loading. So this forms the loading part. So an ETL tool, a best ETL tool is the one which can do all these three activities quite efficiently. Okay. So any questions so far on these three concepts?
Yeah. No, not.
Okay. Okay, so then let's look at the why we need to go for SAP BODS when we have multiple tools in the market. Okay, so the primary tool which whose presence in the ETL market is more is Informatica. Okay, then next to that will be in IBM data stage. Okay, so SAP BODS is gaining much popularity nowadays. Okay, one of the main reasons is the aggressive promotion by SAP. Okay, SAP being the largest ERP supplier, it has purchased this BODS tool and it has renamed it as SAP Data Services. Okay, there are multiple advantages provided by SAP for marketing this tool. The main thing is when we get this SAP HANA database, BODS will be provided free of cost. Okay, so the BODS can be used to transfer data from SAP or non-SAP systems to HANA database. Similarly, it can bring data from non-SAP systems to SAP systems. Let it be the SAP ECC ERP or the SAP BW system or any other SAP CRM or SEM applications. Okay, that is one advantage. It comes free of cost along with a HANA database purchase. So another thing is after SAP has purchased it, it has tightly integrated this tool with the SAP applications. So extraction from SAP ERP system has been made more efficient. It's not that the earlier version doesn't have the SAP extraction part. It has it, but SAP has improved that integration a lot. The data extraction now from SAP is considerably faster when compared to the older versions. And then, as we discussed earlier, in addition to the ETL features, we also have the data profiling functionality. Data profiling is like we look at the data in different ways to identify the data patterns. Okay, by performing data profiling, we will try to understand data patterns which will help us to take decision on data cleansing. For example, let us say we have a column called last name. On that column, we can do a data profiling to identify various patterns. For example, one pattern can be all my last names are ending with a special character called hash, okay, which was by mistake. So on 1000 records, let us say we have did this profiling, and around 100 records have this hash symbol, okay, that we can identify by profiling the data. Okay, so BODS provides an inbuilt feature to do that profile. So once we identify a particular pattern, the business can make a decision whether to clean the data or not. Again, to clean the data, we can go with the transformations feature. Okay, so this is the data profiling functionality. Then another one is the text data processing. So BODS can read unstructured text and do some sentiment analysis. For example, let us take an online shopping portal. A customer has sent a feedback that your products are terrible, it is absolutely waste of money. Now this unstructured text, that 2 lines can be provided as input to BODS. It will identify based on that word terrible that this is a negative feedback. Okay, so it will also rate it like a very strong negative feedback or moderately negative. Or let us say someone has said, yeah, we have superb products here. So based on that, it will identify it as a positive feedback. So this is the text data processing feature that BODS has. Okay, so any questions on this data profiling and text data processing? Okay, so let's move to the next point. The another advantage that SAP provides here is, SAP Data Services provides is, it has delivered some pre-built content for migration from non-SAP to SAP systems. That is for migration from legacy systems to SAP. For example, the latest ERP upgrade. I mean, it's similar to ECC, uh, but it's not exactly. It is based on HANA solution. Okay, the ERP on HANA. So if any business wants to migrate data from existing legacy to S4 HANA system, SAP provides a set of pre-built BODS jobs, okay, which will extract data from that legacy system, perform the data quality checks. They will do all that business validation and mandatory rules, and then they convert the data into SAP format and load it into SAP S4 HANA system. Okay, so similarly they have other packages also to load into SAP normal ERP system or the SAP CRM application or the SAP billing utilities. So when you have a BODS license, you can download that code cost and you can migrate your data. Okay, so that's another advantage that BODS provides over the other ETL tools in the market. Now coming to the history of BODS, initially it was developed by a company called Acta Technology. Okay, so they have actually developed 2 different products. One is a data integration tool which does this ETL activities, and another is the data quality tool which will which can assess the data quality by applying various business rules. Okay, then the business objects has acquired this Acta Technologies, and products were renamed as BODI, Business Objects Data Integrator, and Business Objects Data Quality Tool. Okay, the functionality remains the same. BODI is an ETL tool, whereas BODQ is for data quality assessment. Now, when SAP acquired business objects, it has merged both these tools and released the first version of SAP BODS. Okay, that is, I remember it's version 3.2. Okay, then later SAP started releasing the 4.x versions, and from then on it was renamed as SAP Data Services Tool. Okay, so from this 4.x version onwards, the integration features for SAP ERP applications were really good. They're quite efficient in extracting the data from ECC systems. This is about the history of BODS. So as we were discussing earlier, these are the BODS capabilities. In addition to just an ETL tool, it is a data integrator. So from legacy system or from an SAP system, we can bring data in another non-SAP system or an SAP system. Okay, so we will soon discuss what are the compatible systems from which BODS can extract and to which BODS can load data. Okay, then it is also a data migration tool. So as we discussed earlier, SAP provides some pre-built code packages which will help for an efficient and a quicker migration of data. Then it is a data profiler tool, and it also provides the data quality analysis. Okay, so these are the BODS capabilities. So any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So this is a generic landscape where SAP data services. So the landscape can be, we can have the SAP ECC application and SAP BW and other legacy databases or any other legacy applications. Okay, and data services can extract data from them and load into any of the target system. Here the target is represented as a HANA database, but it can also be an SAP ECC or an SAP BW system, or we can also generate flat files as an output from data services. We can generate XML files, then we can read from XML files, but we will not be able to generate an Excel file. Okay, but XML files, yeah, we can do both reading and writing. That means we can read from XML and generate a XML file also. Coming to the database support, it supports almost all the databases available in the market. Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, Teradata, and most of the other open databases are also supported, like MongoDB and others. Coming to the applications that it supports, SAP ECC application, then SAP CRM, SAP BW, okay, then SAP SuccessFactors is also supported, and we can connect to HANA as a database, as a source also. Okay, so most of the systems that can be connected as a source can also be connected as a target. Okay, in fact, one connection to a system can be used both as a source and target, except in the case of SAP BW system. For SAP BW alone, if it has to work as a source, we need to create one connection, and if it is to be a target, we need to create a different connection. But for rest of the other applications, the connection remains the same for both source and target system. And it also it can also extract data using the web service call. So we can create a connection to a web service call also by providing that web service URL. In addition, it supports some Oracle applications, and you might heard of the JD Edwards, which is a legacy ERP. Okay, so data services can also connect to that application. Okay, so moving next. Well, this is the high level architecture of BODS tool. Okay, our data services tool. Okay, coming to the user interfaces, the designer application is the one which is used by developers to develop the data services jobs. Okay, in addition to this, we can also create connections to the source or target systems by logging into the designer. Okay, then we can also add code to the central repositories. Okay, so we will discuss what the central and local repositories are very soon. Okay, but for now let's remember that we can also do the code version management by logging into designer with help of the central repository. Okay, then the other interfaces is the next important one is the BODS management console. Basically this is a web URL based application where we can log in and run the BODS jobs. We can execute them, we can monitor them, and we can perform certain administrative activities also from management console. Okay, so we'll come across all its features when we discuss this part in detail. Okay, then information steward is a different standalone application which complements the data services. Okay, information steward is especially used to build data cleansing packages which are used for data quality analysis. Okay, so it is another standalone URL based application which have dashboards to look at the data profiling or the data quality analysis results. Okay, see, both design data services can also perform profiling, and information steward can also do the profiling, but information steward does an in-depth profiling of the data. Okay, and the look and feel is also good when it comes to data quality analysis. Okay, this is a different standalone application altogether. In fact, the license is also different to get the information steward. And the central management console is the one that is also used for the normal business objects, BODS reporting, which we call it as the SAP business intelligence tool now. Okay, so CMC is used to configure the server components for BODS. Okay, also we can do the user management. Okay, so from CMC we can do both the that BOBJ and BODS server side maintenance and the administrative activities. Okay, now in addition to the CMC, SAP also provides a lightweight application called IIS, I think IPS, Information Platform Services, which is like a CMC only for the BODS tool. Okay, so I hope, Ravi, you have an idea on SAP business objects, so you might know what CMC is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has the features for both business objects, the reporting part, and the BODS. So now SAP also delivers a lightweight component called IPS, Information Platform Services, which only has the BODS components. It doesn't have anything relevant to BOBJ, but it is similar to the CMC. Okay, so then coming to the next level layer, we have the repositories that form the important component in BODS architecture. Okay, a repository is nothing but a set of database tables that hold the metadata. For example, you are logging into a designer and you are creating a job. That job components will be saved in your system tables, which are nothing but the repository tables. So next time you log in, your saved job will be retrieved from those tables. Okay, that means a repository is a set of database tables which contains the metadata. Okay, So we have different types of repositories, local, central and profiling repositories. So we'll discuss them in detail in the coming sessions. Okay, for now remember that whenever we log into a designer, we are logging into a local repository that is specific to that particular developer. Okay, so every user has his own repository. For example, I'm logging in with a user ID called BODS9. So this guy will log into one repository. Then BODS10 is another user. He will have his own local repository. If two users try to log into same local repository at a time, there is a possibility of corrupting the code. Okay, so when we try to log into the designer, if we get a prompt that another user is already logged in, then we should try to avoid that logon. Okay, or we can reset other user and we can proceed with our login. Then this information steward repository does for the information steward application. Okay, then the CMC repository is for the CMC application. Then underlying that, we have the major components the data services server. Okay, a job server is primarily responsible for executing the BODS jobs. Okay, so it will trigger the whenever we run the job, execute the job from designer or from the management console, it is the job server component that is responsible for running that job. If the job server component is down, we may be able to log into designer, but we will not be able to run our jobs. Okay, then access server component is for real-time BODS jobs. Okay, so BODS has two different kinds of jobs which we will discuss in detail in the coming sessions, but to give the summary about them, one is the batch job that runs at a scheduled time and other for the real-time jobs. They work in a request and response model. Okay, a real-time job keeps running 24/7 on the server, and whenever user requests something, suppose on the web URL, if an end user searches for with a customer number, so this real-time job will receive that number, retrieve the details from the database, and it can send back the results to be displayed on that web page. Okay, so that's what a real. Okay, so this is the overall BODS architecture. So any questions on this architecture?
No.
Okay.
Actually, for
Yeah.
now, I mean, there are few points which I especially for plain understanding. Can you give me an example of variables? How to use variables and
Yeah,
local
sure.
and global variables and
Sure. Yeah, we will discuss that, Ravi. So I will stop this theory part tomorrow. Okay.
yeah.
Maybe in the next session we will discuss about the other
Right.
frequently used terminology. So now let me go to our application and let's discuss about the variables part. Okay.
What I want is
Now,
variables, parameters.
yeah, sure. Okay, so let's start with creating a new project. Now, let me create a new job. Yeah. Global underscore demo underscore one. So whenever we create the jobs, we follow a naming convention based on the client standards. So, but in most cases, the job name starts with a job underscore. Okay, so now yeah,
No, nothing. I just said okay.
okay. So okay, so I'm just creating a script here. So we'll try to create a global variable here and initialize that variable in our script. Okay, so to create a variable, go to this button, variables, or alternately we can go from tools, variables. Okay, so we have local variables and global variables in BODS. Okay, so in addition we have the parameters and a different type of variables called as substitution parameter also. Okay, we'll discuss all these one by one. A global variable is the one that is visible to all the objects within a job. Okay, so now let me create a variable here. So the general global variable is G underscore. Okay, the dollar symbol is mandatory to create any sort of variable, and to name a global variable we can give it like G underscore. Okay, so I'm creating a variable for current date. So I will give the data type as date and time. Okay, so if I want to give some initial value, we can give that here. Okay, so for now let us initialize this in the script alone and not here. Okay, I'm closing this window. So here is this. I'm also introducing a function called sysdate. Okay, sysdate will provide the current timestamp. Okay, this is a built-in function in BODS, and the syntax to use this is same. We do not pass any input parameters. Okay, so we are assigning the current date to this variable, and now I'm introducing another function to print the result of this variable to our log, job log. Okay, so within a print function, whatever we give within a single quotes is the static text. Okay, so I just want to give this statement to be meaningful, and now I want to display the value in our global variable. Okay, so for that I'm using the concat operator and then the variable name. Okay, so all these lines within a script ends with a semicolon symbol. Okay, so I'm just giving the space to so that it will look good when displayed in the trace. Now once we have given these two statements, let us validate for syntax. Okay, the data type conversion warning. Okay, so this is a compatible conversion. Okay, so we can ignore it. So whenever we get a warning, we need to review that. We need to review if it is a compatible data type conversion. Okay, only if it is a valid one. Okay, why we are getting here this warning is we have given our variable which is of type date time in the print function, which generally accepts a varchar. Okay, so that is why the warning has come up, but still any variable is compatible to type varchar, so it will not be a problem for us. Okay, so I'm saving my job. Okay, and I'm running it. Okay, so we can see that the value is displayed here in the trace log. Okay, so we call this log as a trace log in BODS. So we can see the print statement displayed here. Okay, now what I will do is using a global variable, while executing the job, and user has the choice to provide the value for a global variable. Okay, so to do that, what we can do is I will add a different function, a null handling function.
What you're explaining is a global variable, right?
Yes, yes, Ravi. So we can pass a value to the global variable during the job execution. Okay. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm using an NBL function which will handle the nulls. Okay. So it will first check if the value of this variable is null. That means an user has not passed anything. Okay. Then we are defaulting it is to the current timestamp. Okay. But if an user has passed something, then keep that value, retain that value, and then print it to the log. Okay, so now we will see how to pass that value while executing the job. Okay, in the execute option, we have the global variables tab. Okay, and here we can see our global variable. Okay, and I will pass a value here. Okay, so this is the value that the user is passing while executing the job. Okay, so since we have passed a value, this value should be displayed in our trace log. So if we see here, the value that is passed during the execution has been displayed. Now let us execute this one more time without passing any value. Okay, that means it is a null. So when it is a null, we are defaulting it to the current timestamp. Okay, so hope this part is clear.
Yeah.
Okay, now we are discussing that a global variable is visible throughout the job. So we will see how we'll try to create another data flow object. Okay, so what I will try to do here is I'll just create uh, a sample target table. We will discuss these concepts in thorough in the sessions, but I'm focusing here only on our global to demonstrate the global variable functionality. Okay, so I'm trying to create a new column called as current date, which is of type, and let us provide the let us pass this value using the global variable that we have created. Okay, in the mapping for this. Okay, so after the mapping, let us validate it. We did not get any errors. Okay, I'm saving the job and I'm running it. Okay, so the job has executed successfully and a record has been inserted into our target table. Now let us introduce a local variable and see how it is different from the global
Sure.
variable.
Can you show me the log function, please?
If you want to look at the job log, go to this tab, select this one and click on the latest run. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now
This is
what
the
it has
one.
done is it has given the current date because you didn't pass any parameters.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I didn't
You,
pass.
I mean,
Yeah, this is. This is actually the parameter is a different term in BBODS. So let us say I did not pass any value to the global variable.
Right.
Okay. So now let us create a local variable and see how it is different from a global variable. Okay.
Okay.
So
Before 1 minute before that, can you like in the previous example you showed 1900, right? Can you do the same thing with this data flow?
yeah, sure. We will run it.
Yeah.
And okay. Okay, so the job has also completed. Now this is basically a delete and load functionality, right? So the earlier record has been deleted and the new value has been loaded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to create a local variable. So just right click on these variables, insert, and to create a local variable, generally the naming convention, it starts with L underscore. Okay. Let us give the same thing, L underscore current date here. Okay. Date and time. Okay. If we see here, the local variable, we will not be able to initialize it during runtime. Okay, we do not have any such tab, or it is not visible in the global variables tab also. Okay, so we have to initialize this local variable within our job only. Okay, so to initialize it, we can do the same. Okay, so we are initializing with the same function sysdate, and now let us try to use this in our data flow. I will create a new column again, insert below. I will keep it as local underscore date. Now I'm trying to map our local variable here. Okay, now if I try to validate this data flow mapping, we are getting an error. Okay, what it is saying is invalid mapping expression for column local date, cannot parse expression referencing an undeclared variable L underscore current date. That means a variable that is created at a job level is not visible within a data flow that is present in that job. Okay. Now let me come back here. Okay. In the script we have assigned a value to the local variable, but here we are not getting any such message. That means it is accessible. We have declared a local variable at a job level, and it is accessible for a script, which will also be at a job level. But data flow is a different object in the job hierarchy when compared to a script. So this variable is not visible, and hence it is saying it is an undeclared variable. So now to pass a local variable from the job data flow, we have the concept of parameters. Okay, to see how it works, let us go to our data flow and click on the variables window. Okay, see here we can see only the parameters and the global variable option. The variables option is no more there. Okay, so within a data flow we can only be able to create parameters. Global variable, this is only visible. I can do nothing here. Right click, I do not get anything to do. Only just to view the existing global variables that are visible in the data flow, it will help me. Parameter here so that it will get the value from that local variable. Okay, so generally parameters will be like p underscore. Okay, and the data type of this should match with the data type of the local variable that we are going to pass here. Okay, so I am going to save this. Now for mapping, instead of the local variable, we will use the parameter p underscore. Okay, now if we validate, we will get no errors. Okay, because this is the one that is visible within a data flow. Okay, so we are clear with this part, right, Ravi, with creating the parameter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now what we need to do is we need to initialize this parameter. Okay, so here when we click on the variables window, we have two tabs here, definitions and calls. If we go to the calls tab, any parameters, suppose here we have only one data flow with one parameter, so this list is, let us say if we have two or more parameters, they will be present here. If we have multiple data flows, then we can see all those data flows here in this list. Okay, so now for this current date parameter, we need to pass the value. We'll pass it, we'll pass our local variable value here. Okay, so that means since this variable is not visible within my data flow, I have created another parameter variable and I'm trying to pass the value from my local to that parameter. This is how we pass the value with the help of a local variable and a parameter. Okay, let us save it and run it. So if we go to this part, okay, so current date, local date, both of them are working on the same function. So the okay, and initializing the parameter is mandatory. Okay, you need to pass some value to it. Okay, let us see what
Parameter
yeah.
for local variable is compulsory, right?
No, it's not the case. When we create a parameter, we have to pass some value. Like it is our discretion to use the local variable in a data flow or not. Okay, if I don't need my local variable in a data flow, then I don't need a parameter. All right.
Okay.
Okay, and so here we need to pass some value. Let me see. I'm not going to pass anything here. It's not taking it. Let me click on okay. Yeah, I did not pass anything, and when we run the job, it will throw an error. Okay, if a parameter is present in a job, it has to be initialized. Okay, so here we did not pass any value, and this parameter, and sometimes based on the business need, if I do not want to initialize with a local variable, you can directly pass the function value also. Okay, its purpose is to give some value to the parameter. So for that, it might not be a local variable every time. Okay, I'm directly passing the sysdate function here. Okay,
Okay.
so this will also work. It will also provide the current date value to that parameter. Okay, we create a local variable for a purpose, so we pass the local variable value to the parameter. Okay, but I'm trying to say that it's just not a local variable. You can also pass some other value, maybe based on, or if you want to hard code the value also, you can do that. Okay, so if we see, yeah, the local date value has been given as 1900 010. So I hope a local variable and a parameter.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me. Yeah.
What is the
Please.
difference between a local variable and a global variable? I mean, I see them working, but can you tell me the difference?
Yeah, the difference is the global variable is visible all through the job. Okay, a data flow can also use it directly. A script can use it, and if you have some other workflow objects or multiple data flows, they can also use it. Whereas local variable, it is specific for that particular object. Okay, I have created a local variable at a job level. Okay, let me say I have two data flows, df underscore sample 2. What we can do is let me say I do not have a local variable here. Okay, I only have a global variable. Okay, I want to pass a value date plus 5 days to this data flow, whereas date minus 5 days to this particular data flow.
Okay.
Okay, so in that case, if I try to modify the global variable, let me say here I will give it like some plus 5. Okay, this is not the syntax, but I'm trying just an example. Okay, so what will happen is we are going to add 5 days to this value, and when we load the same variable, this will also get a plus 5 days value. Okay, but instead of that, what we can do is a different local variable. Okay, or I can give the same variable and passing the parameters value. Let me create one more parameter here. Okay. Now, while passing these values, what I can do here is like variable, whatever that local variable is there, plus 5, we can do that. And here we can color local var minus 5. Okay. So this way, using that same local variable and with help of the parameters, we are passing to different values. Okay, and another thing is the local variable is not visible for the end user. That value cannot be manipulated. Okay, so if we expose all our variables to be passed with a value during runtime, then chances are that user might give some wrong value and the job might produce corrupt results. Okay, and another important feature where we need these local and parameters is when we run multiple data flows in parallel for performance reasons. Okay, see, let us say we have some 5 data flows like this and we have to pass values to them. Okay, in this case a global variable will not help us because let me say these three are reading different files. Okay, I have a variable called $file name. If it is a global variable, it will have the same value for all. So
Okay.
what we need is we create 3 different local variables with 3 different names and pass the value to each. Local variable 1 to this via parameter, then local variable 2 to this via parameter, then local variable 3 to this via parameter. Okay, so it is the best practice to always go for local and parameter whenever we do not need the global variable. That means if I want to give a choice to the end user during runtime, only that should be created as a global variable. So generally global variables will be created for like let us say a delta flag or a full load flag. Okay, so in such cases only we go for a global variable. Okay, um, for example, when the loads are huge, we can use some batch size. We can use a variable like batch size. Okay, that batch size can be a global variable, because sometimes when the load is less, we can try to increase that batch size for faster processing. Maybe sometime later I can show one real-time job, a complex job, which gives a perfect example of what should be a global variable and what are local and parameters.
No.
Did I answer your question, Ravi? Or?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, and also we can go for the workflows, right? Workflow is another object within the hierarchy. So let me say, oh, let us keep this data flow sample inside the workflow. Now we have created a local variable at our job level, right? So this has to pass two levels in the hierarchy to be sent to data flow. That means, see, if I pass the value here based on that local L underscore current date, okay, this L underscore current date is the one that is at job level, not at the workflow level. So this will not be visible in our workflow. Okay, so this will give again another error while running. To avoid that, we need to create one more parameter at a workflow level also. Okay, so if we see for a workflow, we have both variable and a parameter. If I want a new local variable, I can create it. If I want a parameter here, we can do that. So here in our scenario, we will be needing a new parameter. I will call it as p underscore workflow w current date. Okay. Now when we come to the job level, here we can see our workflow relevant, this p underscore w current. That means a value from a local variable at the job level is being passed via a parameter to workflow, and then again with help of another parameter within the workflow, we are passing it to the data flow. It's two levels of hierarchy here. Okay, is this clear, Ravi, or is it confusing?
Yeah, a little bit confusing.
Okay, maybe in tomorrow's session, let me give an elaborate example on this thing,
Yeah.
workflow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, in addition, we also have that substitution params, a kind of static variable. So we will look at it in tomorrow's session.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any questions on today's sessions?
No, nothing for now.
Okay. Okay then. Yeah, we'll meet tomorrow same time.
Yeah.
We'll continue our discussion on these variables.
I'll email you. Thank you so much, Abhishek. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thanks, Ram. Thank you, Sandhya. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, Suman. Bye.
Shall I close the meeting?
Uday, net class magic is.
Hello?